lütfen bana karşıya. Hamza bir saniye 3'ü de vereyim.
Hello, hello. Please settle down, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to commence. Please settle down. They have to move. They have to move. Please settle down. Thank you very much for your patience. Yeah. All right. No. Yeah. Hello and welcome. Hello, welcome, and good morning to the beautiful city of Antalya. What a pleasant way of celebrating 1st of May, Labor Day. Amazing. Indeed, this is a wonderful opportunity to bring across experts and academicians from so many countries. Indeed, this is a spectacular view that I am looking at when I'm seeing all the different participants here. Right. My job today is very simple. I'm going to introduce to Med1. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Jahanzeb, and I am Senior Medical Director, Pharmacovigilance and Clinical Research. You know, GETS Pharma is a very young organization. It's only been not more than 3 decades that we have established. But we have done so many good work that we have, become one of the largest company in Pakistan, the largest, I must say, and we are expanding very rapidly in the global arena as well. And today's session is also the hallmark of so many innovations and efforts that we do to bring many HCPs across many different countries. We do not just only do events and programs like this. We also support a lot of medical societies to prepare and disseminate the standard of care that we have. Few examples are already there on the presentation here. These are not very easy tasks. This require a lot of collaboration and innovation and conversation with different medical societies. In your bags, we have these leaflets, and you can scan your QR codes in order to have access to these different guidelines. GETS Pharma has also moved to a new journey. only very, very recently, around 4 years ago. Now we have series of different clinical trials that we are running. Most of the colleagues that are sitting here today are from the similar background that I am from. It's low middle income countries. And we all know that we are very data deficient. We do not have data for our own local populations, and this is where we are striving and moving forward. One such clinical trial is very close to my heart, is a e-study. So e-study is pretty unique. We are doing this similar clinical trial in 5 different countries, and few of the principal investigators are also part of today's forum as well. Another very important study that we all cherish and we put a lot of effort to do this is the mini Framingham study of Pakistan, which is known as Pak Sehat. It's a longitudinal study, 10 years long, and we are looking at the healthy volunteers, how the health outcomes actually comes. And we spend a lot of time and energy in concluding this study. I'm very committed to do this. Now we are also moving towards the newer dimensions of research. Very soon, maybe in few years, we will be treating diabetes a little differently, because diabetes would be reclassified in future. This is coming from also from a Swedish registry that have reclassified diabetes, and this is where we all will be little different in treating diabetic patients in future. And we are embarking upon this journey, just started this clinical research in Pakistan. We are also of the point of view, we don't want to hold data back with us. We start disseminating the data, whatever we have in terms of the interim analysis in various different platforms inside Pakistan and outside Pakistan as well. Putting the patient first. We also work very closely with many different professionals, including pharmacists as well. And this is an example of one such alliance that we have created. We have so many different alliances and MOUs with different organizations, one such alliance. So we want to bring in the voice of the patients that is coming from various channels, be it pharmacists, HCPs, or nurses, or somebody else. So these are the different alliances that we are actually working upon. Get Pharma has a legacy of conducting many international forums, and these forums are happening over the last a decade or more in various different forms at different locations. These are just small pictures of last year's events that we have conducted in different parts of the world, bringing in experts and HCPs from various different countries. Also, we had this International Infectious Disease Forum, which was lastly done in 2019, but now we are very, very committed to take it forward and conduct this program every year. Now, what's Med1? Med1 is about collaboration. It's about innovation and also elevate. I'm not going to talk much about Med1 because I don't want to spoil Dr. Khurram Hussein's speech on Med1. But what I'm going to talk about is that it's a strategic intent. We want to put the patient in the middle. Through the multidisciplinary collaboration, diverse expert opinion would be generated. And also, we intend to have high quality scientific dialogue in these different sessions. For young budding participants that have joined us, this is a great opportunity to have a global network. But we will always going to keep one thing in mind, that is, we all want to improve collectively the patient care and the patient health outcomes through these meetings. Now we have bring everything together in one platform. And we are happy to introduce the Public Health and Policy Forum for the first time. That's going to happen today, later in the afternoon as well. So who are we today? We are all here from 18 different countries. 650 plus participants that have joined us. The faculty is approximately 770 plus. I'm sure you all be very proud when you will be looking at the flag of your representing country here as well. I really want to thank the chairs of the scientific committee that we have. They have worked with us diligently in crafting out a very meaningful agenda that will produce a lot of science and conversation and dialogue that will happen individually. So you can see that it's a multidisciplinary from various countries are part of this Med1. So what's going to happen today? So I've just introduced Med1 to everyone, and we will have plenary sessions, 2 plenary sessions, some Q&A, and we have a lovely coffee break at around 10:30, 10:40, 40 or so. And we have some guest speakers also joining us during this session. After coffee break, we'll all be moving to our individual forums that you have been part of this. As I told you before, that my task is very simple. I'm just going to start off this conversation and set up the stage for the entire meeting that will conclude in around 5 o'clock in the evening. So let's begin. First, to welcome all the participants, I'll request Khalid Mahmood, Group Chief Scientific Officer for Getz Pharma. Khalid Mahmood is an industrial engineer and also MBA from Rutgers School of Management from Rutgers University. He has worked in very different positions across the globe, including USA, South America, Far East, and also Pakistan. He has been board members of many different organizations, also WWF. He cherished working to improve the overall education, sports, environment, and preserve the environment. He facilitates also the music and art. I will request Khalid Mahmood to please welcome the participants today.
What a galaxy of stars in our universe, of the medical universe. And it's wonderful to see wonderful old friends and a lot of new faces. And Assalamu alaikum, good morning. I asked one of my new and best friends these days, ChatGPT, to give me the translation of good morning or salam or namaste in each of the languages, but then I realized that it'll take me 4 minutes to say all these because some of our colleagues are watching from other countries through the net, and it'll take me a long time, so I'll just leave it to 2 beautiful words of greetings, which is salam, which means peace be on you, may you be with peace, and namaste, which basically means the divine in me bows to the divine of you. So wonderful greetings. I see yesterday and day before, when we were looking at the list of delegates, I noticed that there are a lot of new people who do not know our company or me or Getz Pharma very well, so I just thought that I'll give you a little history of Getz Pharma. So Getz Pharma was started in 1995. I had been living in the United States, and I was fortunate that my first job after I graduated in industrial engineering in California was with a pharmaceutical company. And I worked in that pharmaceutical company. Since I was an engineer, I worked in the manufacturing sector, in the manufacturing departments, and later on, as I did my MBA, I worked in other functions, and I was part of the leadership program, which took me around to various departments, including regulatory, including quality management systems. And later on, I got another wonderful opportunity to work in the primary health care. So I worked for a company called Program for Appropriate Technology in Health, and that took me to Africa. I worked in Kenya, Ghana, Uganda, and then various South American countries. And when I went there, I saw the real meaning of medicine. I saw children who were dying, and at the time, in most of the world, in emerging markets, the biggest cause of death, of mortality of children, infants, was a simple disease called diarrhea. And it could be treated by a simple medicine called ORS, oral rehydration salts. Believe me, in those days, oral rehydration salts were not very common. They were local desi or homemade remedies, but they were not being practiced, and we lost a lot of children. And also I worked in places to set up diagnostic kits facilities for HIV, because at a time in parts of Africa, almost 15% of the women of childbearing age had HIV positive. We used to work in the WHO office in some African countries, large African countries, and we used to see healthy women at one time, and next time we came after 3 months, because I used to go there for 3 weeks for every 3 months, they would be a victim of HIV. And that gave me some soul searching, and I thought that, what am I doing in Seattle? I used to be out of Seattle or California. I should go back to my country. And I came to Pakistan after having 15 years of experience, and we set up, along with the Getz group, a company called Getz Pharma. So we sat down the first day, and we said, what should be our vision? Why have we set up this company? Only to make money, or to go to the stock market and be a victim of speculators and let the stock price drive our vision, our strategy, and our business plans, or it should be something else? So we came up with two different statements which had a meaning, and we all swore to ourselves that each word will have a meaning which we will fulfill. Simple words: we care for your health, number one, and number two, because disease knows no boundaries, our commitment is worldwide. So we said, okay, so how to put a life into these words, so that when we go somewhere after life and somebody asks us, did you do these words, say these words to just drive up the stock price of the company, or you actually made a difference? So in those days, in 1995, this was in April 1995, WHO and WHO accreditation in emerging markets, because I worked in emerging markets, I worked in pharmaceutical companies, as well as in the primary healthcare, where I was involved with the essential program for immunization in several countries. There was no such guidelines which determine the quality of a pharmaceutical product and or of a pharmaceutical company. This was limited to EMA or FDA. And the rest of the emerging markets, the pharmaceutical industries were just cottage industry. And what that meant was that when you take a tablet with 10 mg or 250 mg, some of it would work, some of it was expired, some of it had high level of impurities that made disease more severe than cure it. So what and the accreditation of WHO was just emerging in that time. It actually had emerged in late 80s, So we said, we made a very tall statement, and we said that on the first day of April 15th, 1995, sitting in our small conference room with about 6 broken chairs in Karachi, Pakistan, we said that we will get this company accredited by World Health Organizations. Some people laughed at us within the industry and outside the industry. And our second vision was that we will, because disease knows no boundaries, our commitment is worldwide. We said that we'll go to the world, we will be international company. For economic reasons, for the reasons that going outside to different countries gives a new challenge to you. The people out there in various countries, they have different standards, and we try to go to more and more developed country. I remember going to Philippines, and I met the very famous gentleman whose name was Kenneth Garden Go, who was a prophet of advocate of affordable medicines that are quality medicines also. And I talked to their Director General Health, or it's called, or a similar post, and he actually came to Pakistan and saw our facility. And so we said this, that unless you are an international, and as the slogan that, the world is becoming a global village, which today is very, very clear and obvious, but in those days to say that we are in a global village meant a lot. So we said this, and much against what other people believed, within about 13 years, our quality control laboratory became the first laboratory in Pakistan that got accreditation and pre-qualification by World Health Organization. And shortly after that, our manufacturing also facility also got accreditation by the World Health Organization, and after that, there was no looking back. Now we have about 5 or 6 accreditations of international respected and developed regulatory agencies. Now, once we did that, we also started reinvesting in bioequivalent formulations. Bioequivalent formulations were also unknown, not known. I would interview a lot of people, even from MNCs, but because the formulas came, the formulations and all the procedures came from back in the US or Europe, the local senior directors also did not know the meaning of ICH guidelines or bioequivalent formulations. So today, I'm very proud to say that we have 150 products in our portfolio which are bioequivalent and studied and approved by US FDA bioequivalent centers. And we have the rest of the products. Now, each bioequivalent formulation costs anywhere from $100,000 to about $600,000, depending on the complexity of the formulation and depending on what kind of a product it is. So the rest of our products are pharma equivalent with the innovator, and this is so today we are very happy that our vision, our strategy, and our business plans all gel together, and they were not empty words. They are not words which are just as a marketing gimmick, but these are words behind which we can hang our hats on. So basically, another part of our vision was that we will reinvest in research and development. So research and development, when we researched research and development, what is R&D? Because it was, when you look at the balance sheets or annual reports of innovative companies, or they they tell you what percent of sales, what percent of spending of sales, what percent of sales will you allocate to research and development. So we also invested in science-ship and in real-world evidence. Some of you may remember that back in it's been so many years and I forget the years, you know. Back in, it shows my age, and back in 1999, when we launched the interferon, and later on we were manufacturing it also, we invested in a huge study of 22,000 patients, which studied the seroprevalence of the disease, and even the prevalence rate was not known, because Egypt and China and Pakistan were the highest prevalence rate countries of hepatitis C. So we invested a lot in that area. And this research, which was a serious research, also revealed to us something which shocked us. We did not believe it, but we always believed in science, so we believed in the research. And it showed us that within 20 years, there is a disease called diabetes, which is going to be a leading reason or cause of morbidity and mortality. And we started working on it, and when we looked at in the countries in which we were working at the time, that the engines for growth of this disease are plentiful. So there is complacencies, there was a diet, probably genetics, and of course there was a poor man's disease, which is also the diabetes. And today, you know, we have. So what we did was we noticed another thing, which was very sad, that in the entire world, there is just basically innovator insulin, and they were charging prices as they wished, because they are driven by the stock market. And in the emerging markets, there was no generic insulin being produced. So back in 2005, just 10 years after our existence, we deliberately invested in the manufacturing facility of insulins. And today, our product, Insuget, is rated by IQVIA as the 10th largest brand of insulin, and one which is bioequivalent. And this was in 2006. So we invested in there. We invested in many other technologies that we were the first, but we were not going to talk about it, because I think they're a wonderful day with the wonderful other discussions are waiting for all of us. So we were basically, what I'm saying is that today, even today, there are very few generic insulin plants in the lower income and in the middle income regions, in the emerging markets. So we are not going to stop here. This is not enough. The burden of disease is increasing tenfold. And so we will make available enough insulins to serve all the 40 markets, or most of the 40 markets in which we work. At this time, we only serve 4 markets where we have insulin. And we will have insulin in cartridges, we'll have analog insulins, we will have GLP-1s and GIPs, and etc., and in enough quantities. When we sat down to work on the how many insulins will be needed of these various formulations, it shocked us. And we then decided that we will put our major capital in this area. So now, of course, how did all this happen? That we are, I must say that we are, in addition to all this, we have been the largest taxpayer in the country in which we manufacture, which happens to be Pakistan. We are the largest taxpayer for the last 22 years. 22 years ago, we were only rated like number 10th or 12th, even at that time. So we are the largest taxpayer, and of course, we are the largest exporter from our country. Now, you know, how did this happen? Why did this happen? How does this happen? There are many companies that come, and why does one company can have this kind of accomplishment? We have a long ways to go, but at least our motto again was very simple. We will only be in insulin. We will only be in pharmaceutical sciences. We will not be in real estate. We will not be in textiles. We will not be in other industries, and everything that we earned, we reinvested back into the company and its sciences. So we not only invested back into the facilities, and believe me, a WHO plant requires very expensive facilities. It has a different regime of testing, which costs much more. But we also invested, and most importantly, we invested in people, in the development of people, and of every kind. We try to develop their critical thinking, their professional acumen, and all that. And I think this is how we were able to get to this point where we are. Then in addition to the facilities, the quality management systems that are challenged every 3 years by WHO, every 3 years by another very respected regime called PICS. And of course, I am very proud to say that even when we get auditors from emerging markets, what are known as sub-Saharan Africa, the auditors are of very high quality. Auditors of Belarus are of very high quality, a very high caliber. When we sit with the WHO auditors, we come from Geneva, and with the auditors who come from other countries, other markets that we serve, we learn a lot. We learn a lot, and of course, I was very happy that the emerging markets are growing and are developing, and they're doing very well. So I think that now, of course, this is simple. Now, what is the next? What is the next step? Now that we have, after 30 years, this is our 30th year, we have fulfilled all our vision and brought it to be successful. What is next? Because now we have bigger challenges. So the next revolution will be informed and discussed with you by a gentleman who's a scholar, and he is known for his scholarship, and is known for his moving and shaking, and he's the next generation of leadership, and his name is, you all know him by the name of Dr. Khurram Hussain. Thank you very much.
Hello. Thank you, Khaled sir, for welcoming the participants and sharing your journey across last 30 years that we are all proud of accomplishing it today. Moving forward with the agenda, we have plenary 1 related to AI. We have a very unique profile with us today, Dr. Junaid Bajwa. Dr. Junaid Bajwa is a medical doctor from King's College, London. He's done his MBA from Imperial College, a business school in London as well. He's a triple board, internal medicine, surgery, and primary care. He's also a clinical associate professor at University College London again, and visiting scientist in NTU and Harvard School of Public Health. He's a leading figure in healthcare and AI. So I can talk another 15 minutes introducing him, but I think it would be wise for me to invite him and be on the stage to have the first plenary talk. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, my sincere thanks to the Getz Pharma team and all of you for humbling me with your presence. So I will try and say Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Vanakkam, Jambo, and hello, but that's the limit of my education. So how did this all start? I don't know how many of you have ever used this book, but this is the book that I used to carry around the wards when I was a junior doctor in the UK. The book is called the Oxford Handbook of Clinical Medicine. I carried it around so that I could be safe in prescribing paracetamol or ibuprofen, or I would know what to do if there was a crash call or a trauma incident. So it was my handbook. I paid zero attention to the first opening lines of this book. I paid very little attention to it up until maybe about 3 or 4 years ago. But bear with me a moment and let us just reflect upon some of these words. So medicine is an exercise of our imagination. We enter another person's suffering to end it. If there can be no respite, then we stay with our patients until the end. Beyond this, there is no higher ideal. I say that because everything that we do in medicine is this, and everything that I'll be talking about should be grounded in this. I'll talk to you a little bit around the whiz-bang imagination that we can do with technology and AI, but I think everything that we do has to be grounded in fundamentally helping the patients and public that we serve. So Janzeb and others have been very, very kind. I have one mission in life. I have a very short life ahead of me, and I wish to have the maximum impact that I can. And I'm a very curious soul. So I've spent the last 25 years across the payer, provider, regulatory, life sciences, and big tech side of healthcare. I'm a senior partner at an organization. Oh. Is that good? I'm a senior partner at an organization called Flagship Pioneering. Flagship is most famous for building, creating, and innovating Moderna, and I joined Flagship back in September. Prior to Flagship, I was at Microsoft Research as their global chief medical scientist, answering an exam question which I would encourage you all to take part in with me, which is how might we transform the practice of medicine with trusted, reliable, human-centered artificial intelligence. Some of what I'll speak about today was published in this paper with the Royal College of Physicians. It's freely available. It's one of the most highly cited papers in AI as it exists today, with colleagues from Microsoft and colleagues from University College London. Before we get into thinking about the role that technology can play, we have to understand each other's contexts. The context that I come from in the UK is distinct to the context of Pakistan, of Sri Lanka, of Kenya, of Georgia, of Turkey. But when we think about the challenge of adoption and diffusion of innovation, I think we have to understand the health systems within which we operate. So what is the broad context of that healthcare system? What are the individual actors within that healthcare system? What are the opportunities for us to really innovate? And how ready is any given health system to adopt any form of innovation, be that AI or otherwise? And then actually, what do we anticipate that innovation to offer us in the near term, in the medium to long term, and in the longer term too? So we often think about, and Bill Gates would talk about this, that we underestimate what we can do in 10 years, but we overestimate what we can do in 1 year. We have to think about actually the journey that we're on, both on a temporal basis, and truly then think about the journey within our individual contexts and systems around us. And globally, every healthcare system in the world is trying to face at least 2 challenges represented by these inverted pyramids. So one, we recognize that all the diseases that Mr. Mahmood talked about and the ones that Getz Pharma focus on, we have to think about these long-term conditions. And we recognize that 20 to 25% of all resources any given health country and economy are given to the 5% of the most vulnerable people in that healthcare economy. These are the people with chronic long-term conditions, with cancer, with dementia, with a number of other comorbidities. But a number of us in this room are either at that point or we may be in this pre-disease sub-healthy population, or we may collectively, some of us, be in this healthy unknown. And every physician, every hospital, every organization and payer has to do at least 3 things at the same time. They have to improve population health at scale. They have to think about the experience of care being improved for the patients and public that we serve, improving the experience of care for the physicians, the doctors, the nurses, the managers who are delivering that healthcare service, and think about the reduction in per capita cost of healthcare spend. They also have to think about ensuring that equity is paramount in everything that they do. And within that, if you take a double click underneath that and think about these macro shifts that we have across the world, we know that we have aging populations across the world. We know that we have increasing physical disabilities, increasing comorbidities. All of us probably have a high expectation of what we want healthcare to be and look like. We have this Netflix experience, if you forgive the analogy, that says we want it on demand. We want it all right now. I don't want to wait 2 weeks for a scan. I want my scan now. When I'm unwell, I want access to a doctor straight away. But we also have financial challenges across the world as well. And so within this, what's the innovation opportunity? The World Health Organization pre-pandemic would have estimated that the world will have 14 million less doctors, nurses, and pharmacists on the planet than what society would need. So within the next 5 years, we will, and this will affect low middle income countries more than any other countries in the world, have 14 million less doctors, nurses, and pharmacists than what society will need. I would put it to you that in a post-pandemic world, that's much more like 25 million. I can talk to you about what I'm seeing in the UK or in the US or within many of your global health systems, but if we recognize that the world will have 25 million less healthcare professionals on the planet in the next 5 years than what society will need, you then have to challenge yourself to say, what's the innovation opportunity before us? And then you start looking at the data that exists. So the pie chart that you have thinks about the holistic notion of both physical health and the social determinants of health. So everything that exists in the medical record, if you're privileged to have one, is about 11% of your healthcare. The rest of your healthcare is made up of the environment that you're in, your genetics, your biology, your individual behaviors, and your social circumstances. Many of us were taught to practice a medicine that focuses on what's the matter with you as a patient, as opposed to what matters to you. If you start changing the conversation to what matters to the individual and to that patient, and you take a holistic view, imagine the impact that we can have to truly improve not just the diabetes of somebody, but their diabetes, their cholesterol, their hypertension, but also work towards them to understand their mental health, their physical health, their social circumstances, and improve the totality of their health. And if we move that needle, we'll move healthcare systems from a diagnosis and treat model of healthcare to one that allows us to recognize and prevent. And if we take those steps, we'll increasingly go down a journey of personalization. And I would put it to you that if we can unlock the opportunities of technology within that, my personal practice of medicine will change if I have access to connected care devices, if I have access to precision therapeutics and precision diagnostics. So what does this all mean? This means that the future of healthcare will be much, much more data-driven, accurate, predictive, and precise. So if we now think about the AI revolution before us, this graph on the left-hand side thinks about this accelerating growth of technology that we've seen since the printing press in the 1400s, all the way through to the Industrial Revolution, post-World War II, and where we are today. And in the last 5 years, you see this rise of scale of these variety of AI tools, which we'll talk about in a moment. And more intelligent AI is now just simply a matter of scale. More data, more compute, and more parameters. And if you look at the capabilities of some of these tools, ChatGPT being one, Copilot, Gemini, Claude, Anthropic, etc., you'll see that many of them have begun to surpass human performance. So they're surpassing human performance on the ability to understand language, understand reading, understand images, speech recognition, and handwriting recognition. And this paradigm shift, if you just think about where we were in November 2022 to where we are now, you'll start to see that one, the big change was having a universal interface. So the ability to have a chat. What you could do on WhatsApp or iMessage or a text exchange, you can now do with an AI agent called ChatGPT. And what's been happening in the background is that it's getting better at reasoning. It's getting better at thinking. and is getting better at understanding longer, more complex parameters around it too. And you have continual innovation happening across. Out of curiosity, maybe just a show of hands, how many of you have ever used ChatGPT or the equivalent? Okay, if you put your hands down. How many of you have never used it? Okay, just a few. And out of curiosity, the ones that are using it, how many of you are using it in your clinical practice day to day? Okay, so just a few. How many of you are using it in other aspects of your life? So most of you using it in other aspects. Okay, cool, interesting. Okay, we'll come back to this in a moment. And then you have this thing called DeepSeek that happened a few months back, which also then provided an innovation through amazing scientists in China that have enabled a more cost-effective way to think through some of these parameters. So let's bring some of this to life and think about the clinical circumstances within which this could be used. So if I was to ask any of you, and I know there's a number of diabetologists, endocrinologists in this room, what is metformin? I would put it to you that if I spoke to 3 of you and I said, what are the top 3 things I need to know about metformin? There'd probably be a general consensus as to what you would tell me. And if I then put this into search engine of choice, let's call it Google, I'd get pages and pages of information, the top 15 being sponsored by somebody, and then getting some information underneath as to what metformin actually is. But if you put this into this chat agent, you'll get something that looks like this. So it's a prescription medication used to treat type 2 diabetes, sometimes pre-diabetes, and this is how it works. One clever thing that we were able to do was then say, actually, so let me carry on the conversation. So I'm not just happy with that. I want to then know, well, actually, can anybody with type 2 diabetes take it? And then it will tell me, well, that most people can, but it's not necessarily suitable for everybody, and you have to be careful if you have these specific conditions. If I carry on the conversation a bit further, I might then be curious, if I'm a patient or if I'm a physician, to understand if there are alternatives. And it will tell me that, yes, there are many, many alternatives available. Here's a list of them. Many of you will know many of these alternative medications. And at this point, if I'm a patient and just reading this, I'm probably getting quite confused and potentially feeling a bit overwhelmed because I don't have the knowledge and the collective wisdom of what you all have in this room. And if I then said to it, wow, that seems really, really complicated, I just don't know what to do, it will empathize with me and say, understand that I feel overwhelmed, and then ask me to work with healthcare professionals and think about a holistic view. So this is transformative. This is really thinking about a whole conversational interface that you can have on simple questions such as what is metformin, and go down. And actually the research suggests that the empathic responses, the care by which these models are responding to patients is more empathic than many of us in this room. Many of us who have gone through medical school have to learn through clinical vignettes. And this is a clinical vignette. So we're often faced with the challenge, maybe a challenge of a 12-year-old girl that presents to the emergency room with a set of symptoms. Here's some results, and you're given a multiple choice question of what you could do. You could take this entire question as a prompt, put that prompt into ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot, and it will tell you the correct answer. After that correct answer, you could ask it, well, why have you chosen that correct answer? And you can learn from this opportunity too. So in a world where we're not training enough doctors, nurses, pharmacists at this moment in time, what might this do to transform medical education? If you had access to these tools as a student and you couldn't speak to your lecturer or educator, could some of these tools help us to understand and then think about personal tutoring for medical students or nurses or pharmacists in the future? Now, if we go a little bit beyond and understand that actually none of these models have been trained on any medical knowledge, they're taking the digital exhaust of the internet and then applying them to healthcare settings. And no specialized training has actually been taken. So these are general purpose tools, which is why many of you are using them for general queries, writing poems, synthesizing information, preparing for talks, preparing for speeches. But imagine what we could do if we started to use some of these into clinical practice. But if we asked a question from that clinical vignette, but then ask it to reason underneath it. So this is not in that little paragraph. And you said to it, well, what might the girl described in this problem be thinking and feeling? Now, all of you could take an educated guess. But it would take quite a leap to say, could this machine empathize and understand what's happening with this patient? And it will tell us that as an AI language model, it cannot directly assess thoughts and feelings, but it will make an educated guess. She could be feeling worried or scared because of the changes in her health. She could be worried because she's missing out on school, and reinforce the importance of a healthcare team working with her to address her concerns, thoughts, ideas, and expectations. If you then go even a step further and say, well, the girl's name is Meg. If you were Meg's doctor, what would you say in order to provide her comfort and support? So again, certainly in the UK and the US, you do these OSCEs, you do these role plays with patients that you're then assessed on. You could then say, well, here's a script that actually this AI tool will give, and say, this is what I would say in this situation. And if you approach it and carry on, you could do a role play and say, you play act the role of the patient, I will be playing the role of the doctor, and assess me at the end on how well I have done. Imagine what this could do to transforming medical education. Imagine what this could do to think about what we need to do to reduce this gap of 25 million doctors, nurses, and pharmacists that we're all going to have in our respective institutions over the next couple of years. Everything that we do in healthcare, so these are not medical devices at this moment in time, we haven't gone that far. These are just general purpose conversational agents. But clearly, the more complex you go on the risk versus complexity table, you'll have to start thinking about regulations. I sit on the board of a large hospital in the UK, University College London. I'm on the board of the MHRA, where we think about the regulation of both pharmaceutical products, but also increasingly AI. And we have to think about this notion of responsible AI. Responsible AI is equally important for those who are developing these solutions as it is for any of us who are thinking about deploying these solutions into our organizations. On a bedrock of accountability and transparency, we have to think about fairness, reliability, privacy, and security, and inclusiveness. Most of the data that exists that has trained these models, or indeed most of the data that exists in clinical trials, does not represent me, and it doesn't represent many of you in this room. So how do we ensure that you're not introducing bias into many of these algorithms? So we have a collective responsibility to build out the data, much like the mini Framingham that I think Gets Pharma and others have spoken about earlier. But think about the trials that you have to do in your local areas to ensure that actually when you think about the genotypic, phenotypic impact of medicines coming into your communities and your patients, how do we ensure that those data is what's coming into the models of the future? And if you identify issues, how do you measure them and how do you mitigate? So when we were at Microsoft, when I was thinking about when you implement these, it's insufficient if you don't give a reference as to where some of the information came from. So in the early days, you may note that people talked about this notion of hallucination or confabulation, where actually some of these models were making up answers. It wasn't necessarily accurate. And actually, they're getting much better now. So if you go back to the same model today, because it's better at context and it's better at reasoning, it's less likely to hallucinate. You cannot eliminate it entirely, but it's less likely to make things up. And if you ask a question such as this, it will start now, if you use Copilot certainly, to give you a reference underneath as to where it's got the information from. And as the human in the loop, it's our responsibility to go back, check, and then use that information. So these are amazing interns for you to use. These are your personal 24/7 digital assistants. They are not replacing you by any stretch of the imagination, but they're trying to help you become much more productive in what you do. If you imagine a blood test report, many of you will understand end-to-end what this blood test report is, but if you go to patients, they may or may not understand it holistically. You can take this as a screenshot, a PDF, or a text grab, put it into the model, and say, I received this report from a medical lab, can you explain in simple terms what this means? And it will pop out the results with emojis and give you reference ranges underneath. And it's pretty accurate. What might that do to some of the productivity and how you think about that embedding into your workflows in your respective organizations? Maybe just throw out some answers for me. From a UK perspective, for example, what do you think the average reading and understanding age is of the population that I speak to? Mr. Mahmood, I'm going to ask you, if that's okay. So if I'm speaking to you as a patient in the UK, what do you think the average reading age in the UK is for a patient? No. So if I'm speaking to a patient, what do I think their understanding is? So if I'm speaking to a patient, what's their level of understanding? Seventh, eighth grade. So you're spot on. So the average understanding, the average reading age is that of a 9-year-old. So if I'm explaining diabetes or Crohn's disease or a urological tumor, regardless of who that patient is, the average understanding is that of a 9-year-old. How many of us, when we're explaining things to our patients, think that we're speaking to a 9-year-old? I would say to you that most of us think that we're speaking to somebody with a similar equivalent reading age to us. So most doctors in the UK think that we're speaking to somebody with a 30, 35 reading age, somebody that could either read the New York Times or the Guardian newspaper, which is quite complex language. And then we wonder why most people don't understand what we say to them. This will perhaps be even more apparent in your healthcare settings. So the first time that I ever used this tool was not for a healthcare problem. My son was 10 years old at the time. He had a homework assignment. His homework assignment was to write down an essay about the microclimate of his school, comparing the car park, the playground, and the tarmac. I had no understanding what a microclimate is. I could barely remember my geography from when I was 10. And so the good thing that I could have done was to go and be a good father, go to search, research everything, understand it so that when my son would come to me, I would be able to explain something to him in some detail. I cheated. I went to ChatGPT and I said, write me a 300-word essay on the microclimate of this school in this part of London, break it down into introduction, methodology, conclusion, and put it in the voice of a 10-year-old. When it put it into the voice of a 10-year-old, the language it used, what it could educate me with was something that both I could understand and I could communicate back to my son. I did not give him the answer, that would be being a bad father, but I could use it in a way to explain things to him on his terms that he could understand and learn from. And if you take this back to a healthcare setting, think about what this could mean for an asthma care plan or a diabetic care plan, that we then say, take this, translate this into something that a 9-year-old could understand, and it does that within seconds. And we're thinking about how we use this, certainly at the MHRA, certainly at the hospital that I'm part of, and indeed within my clinical practice. So, for all of you to be aware, there's been 1,800 papers published in PubMed around these technologies for the purposes of health and life sciences, and 100 of them have been published in major medical journals over the course of the last year. There's been over 500,000 clinical encounter notes written by AI in this clinical ambient technology space, largely in the US, increasingly in Europe, and millions of after summary visits. And the capabilities are not just text, but they're sound, video, and multimodal by design. And we're not just thinking about individual AI, this conversation, we're thinking about actionable AI, so AI talking to other AI, taking actions on our behalf. And so some of this is totally indistinguishable from magic in terms of when you think about what the application of this could be. And if we fast forward a little bit and imagine what this could do to other pathways of care. So you take a cancer care pathway. We often think of a cancer care pathway being quite linear from symptoms all the way to survivorship or palliation at the end. And think about the potential problems along the way for this pathway in the UK for somebody with non-small cell lung cancer. But actually, anybody who treats cancer, and many of you I know do, know that it's not a linear pathway. People don't present with non-small cell lung cancer. They present with a set of symptoms. We then have to take a history, a diagnosis, an examination, and investigations. And it becomes a spaghetti hoop of how we get there. But imagine if we could do more. That pie chart I showed you earlier with the medical data, socioeconomic, genomic, phenotype, behavior, if I had access to all of that data, could I transform that care experience? Could I, in the future, not just have my tumor board or this multidisciplinary team that manages cancer with the pathologist, the oncologist, the radiologist, the nursing team? What might I have if I also had an AI in the room as a team member? And that AI was reviewing the clinical notes, understanding the social demographic history, reviewing every publication across the world at that moment in time, and then crafting a treatment plan for that individual in front of me. Medical knowledge doubles every 73 days. There's a new paper published every 30 seconds. In the course of my talk here with you today, there'll be 60 new papers that would have been published. What does that mean? How can any of us keep up to date? How do we decipher noise versus signal within that? And in the future, could we take all of this collective wisdom so that the best healthcare in the world taking place in hospital X in the world is the same as what's happening in your local hospital, wherever you may be? And we're seeing also the development of this notion of an AI co-scientist. Colleagues at Google are able now to think about hypotheses and a hypothesis generation in ways that haven't been imagined before. So a colleague of mine has been working on an antimicrobial resistance piece of work for the last 10 years. They took the collective knowledge of what has happened without sharing any of his work, and overnight, this tool and this scientist crafted the same hypothesis that he's been working on for 10 years. We're also seeing what can happen in the radiology space and in the imaging space. Imagine if you could have a conversation with a CT scan or a conversation with an X-ray. Could you see if that pneumothorax is getting better or worse? Could you see if that pleural effusion is improving or not? Not everywhere do we have radiologists who are prime at what they do. What if you could have much of what we do in emergency rooms or in the ITU, HDU, having conversations to then say what you could do with some of these tools? And we put one of these things into practice within Microsoft when I was there as a research project. So for prostate cancer, one of the treatments you can have is precision radiotherapy. For precision radiotherapy, it takes anywhere between 30 minutes to 3 hours for consultants, such as Dr. Raj Jenna here, to review every slice of a CT scan, mark tumor versus non-tumor. We took a gaming technology from Xbox, leveraged some AI, and push this forward so that the entire process with human in the loop can take 13 minutes. So rather than 8 patients a day having radiotherapy planning, 6 to 8 patients in an hour in University Hospital Cambridge can now have that planning done. So we're entering a world where there's increasing amounts of data at our disposal. We have structural data, we have imaging data, we have cellular data. We're curating and crafting those notes with AI. We're taking pharmacy data, genomic data, all the data that exists around you to get a clearer picture of what that individual looks like moving forward. We're then applying these large language models or AI tools across the ecosystem of this information, and then having a conversation in natural language as to what the art of the possible might be, helping us as a system of change and a conversational expert to say, actually, am I missing anything? Actually, who else could I work with to get to the bottom of this diagnosis? And fundamentally accelerating innovation. And in the future, what you can do for life sciences is accelerate discovery, development, and delivery of care. If you have access to ChatGPT, you can also now use functions such as deep research. Deep research will allow you to get consultant, when I say management consultant level grade reports out. They will take about 30 to 40 minutes to produce, and it will figure out the prompts, the other prompts, and other questions you should ask, improving your questions in order to get to the bottom of what you need. And perhaps in conclusion, if you then take this one step further, what if we take one step beyond AI and start to think about not just the digital intelligence that we have, but how do you combine that with nature's intelligence and human intelligence? So at Flagship, we're now thinking of this notion of polyintelligence. And what might we be able to do if we could take the creative potential that humans have, nature's adaptive intelligence, and link that in with artificial intelligence? And this paper is freely available for you to have a read. And so assumptions on the future state. There will come a point in time where clinical reasoning is available to everyone, everywhere, at zero time marginal cost. At that moment in time, I would hope that clinicians can do what they are arguably best at: speaking, connecting to patients, understanding the unmet needs, and guiding through a treatment of care. Patients are empowered in this future, and care is dynamically resourced around them, and health systems are vigilant to deliver the quadruple aim of healthcare. And the best organizations in the world, and many of you are in this room are part of them, are building their capacity. They are trialing, experimenting, and working with these tools today. They're building their muscle around what could happen. They're understanding actually the governance and the ethics of AI and responsible AI in what they do. And they're learning from each other and collaborating to deliver a better future. The last page of the Oxford Handbook of Clinical Medicine said this: And it's the second paragraph that I'd like you to focus on, which is the word patient has occurred frequently throughout my talk here with you today. Let us not skim over it lightly. Let's pause and doff off our metaphorical caps, offering due respect to those who, by opening up their lives, their data, and their stories to us, become our true teachers. Thank you very, very much for your time.
Mike, please. We will have a quick round of questions. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Can we have a mic here, Dr. Sana? Right here, please. Mic here. So I'll just request a very short question in order to facilitate more questions.
Very short. What can it not do?
What can it not do?
Interesting. What it cannot do.
So lots of things today. So I go back to the exam question that I was focusing on is, it's not just AI for AI's sake, but it has to be trusted, reliable, and human-centered. It has to pass the test of trust. Not always there. It has to pass the test of reliability. Not always there. And has to have the human in the loop. We have to be there. It's not an autonomous agent designed to do what it has, but actually the reasoning capabilities and its functions are increasing en masse and at scale. You have to really, really keep up with this. So every 2 to 3 months, there's yet another breakthrough. So watch this space. People are integrating the tools with robots. They're thinking about dynamic factories, autonomous agents. There's a ton of things it can do, but it can't do what you and I can do. This imagination, the creativity, it can't hold somebody's hand when you're having to look after them. So that humanity does not possess that at this time.
Right. Dr. Amir, please.
In all this, what you have just shown, and I think the question comes, where does the gut feeling remains? You know, the good old gut feeling.
Feeling?
The doctors work, and they say, my gut feeling is this is what's happening. And I think we have lost that. We
So
have
it's
lost that gut feeling.
So it's interesting. So the gut feeling that you and I would have is what we could say that the machine is hallucinating. So when you and I have a gut feeling, we're often making something up, and we have an intuition that we think this is the right path. But if we just had a few more data points, we could get there. So if we see a red flag, we have a gut feeling it's cancer, but we need to validate that. These tools have that. Now, they're not replacing us at any stretch. But if I gave you these, full access to these, and you built it into your pathway, could you spend more time with your patients? Could you see more patients? Would it improve your productivity? I think that's what is the opportunity before us. So not to replace, but to augment, to remove the burden that we have, give it the boring, mundane, boring work to do, and focus on the things that make a difference. That connection that you have, that's where the limitless potential is. These are transformative for education, higher education. Imagine what this will do for universities. Imagine what this is doing for family members who are studying today. They're going to be learning in a fundamentally different way to how any of us have historically learned. We need to think about this for the future too.
Right. My big apologies.
Yeah.
We are
Hello.
a little behind. Dr. Bajwa is with us for the entire day today. He'll be with us in the coffee break. He's also already in the cardiometabolic forum as well. Feel free to have a conversation with him. Thank you very much, Dr. Bajwa, for joining us today. Amazing. I was also kind of little skeptical to know, do we really need physicians in future, or this AI will take over, or you will be requiring only technicians to talk to the patients. That's bring us to the second round of the plenary session. Something very, very important and very close to our heart is the global healthcare puzzle of aligning the access, quality, and innovation. To do this, we are inviting as a moderator for this session is Zishan Ahmed. He's the Chief Operating Officer for Innovation and Business Development at Gets Pharma. More than 20 years of experience in regulatory, R&D, business development, and clinical pharmacy. He is played a very pivotal role in acquiring WHO and PIC certification and has product registrations across the globe, more than 1,500. I will stop here and I will request Zishan to please come on the podium. Thank you very much, Zishan.
So, Assalamu alaikum and good morning, everybody. So, from AI, I will try to play a role of Marty McFly, Back to the Future, to our current realities. Because I will be talking about, and we will be having discussion, and I have a STEAM panel, a group of panel, where we will be shedding light on a topic which is, I think, in the emerging market is very, very important. So, I'll be needing your attention for next 10 minutes. Because in emerging market, we normally talk about the access of healthcare, access of medicine, price. This is our primary discussion. But I think with that, because of its own nature in emerging market, quality is being discussed not with the same intensity. And why it's important to discuss quality simultaneously, because in emerging market, the regulatory enforcement or regulatory structure is not that strong. And from that porosity, from those pores, lots of quality issue arises as well. To shed light on this, I have a multinational panel with me, and I'll be inviting them to explain their experience within their countries. I'm inviting Dr. Afra from Iraq. She is the head of registration department, Kurdistan Medical Control Agency. Please come on the stage. Dr. Ragad, she is the head of the registration department of MOH Iraq. Please come on the stage. And from Uzbekistan, Dr. Umida. She is the Vice Rector of International Cooperation, Tashkent Pharmaceutical Institute. She is responsible for giving pharmacists and scientists in Uzbekistan. And then last but not the least, Stephen Kagera from Kenya, an expert in supply chain, and I think he has a very good experience in terms of assessing the generics in the emerging market. Thank you very much. So, in the emerging market, the major source of healthcare provision in terms of medicines are generic manufacturers. And a new phenomena is happening, which in next 5 years, which will be a huge reality, that will be biosimilars, which is the generic version of biologicals. So what we need to understand, first, I know that most of us know what are generics, but briefly, generics are the interchangeable version of the innovator, a research drug, which are intended to have same pharmacological action. They should be from the same route of administration. They should be same and effective as that of originator product. Similarly, biosimilars are, in an easy way to understand, they are the generic version of biological products, but they are inherently very complex because they are derived from living organisms. So they have their inherent variability. The risk of immunogenicity, risk of toxic effect are quite high. So it's very complex as compared to the other generic products. So here's the question to all of you. Are all generics and biosimilar similar in terms of quality, safety, and efficacy in emerging market? And this is a pressing question. As a student of regulatory sciences, where I have a practical experience of studying the regulation of 40 countries and studying and experiencing the issues, we do some surveillance testing as well, do some sampling of the generic manufacturer. I have an idea what is the answer of that question. But before giving the answer to this question, let's look at a case study. from Pakistan first. Semaglutide, very well-known product. Ozempic, talk of the globe, a GLP-1 agonist. Like it's solving, like it's a miraculous drug in controlling diabetes and weight loss. In Pakistan, multiple companies are applying for the registration of this product. So I have taken out an extract directly from our regulatory authorities' website, the minutes where they assess the quality of the dossier, the safety and efficacy. So I'll take you through 3 examples, 3 dossiers. So company A, they have submitted a comprehensive data, which includes non-clinical information, detailed non-clinical information, detailed phase 1 clinical data, and detailed phase 3 clinical data as well from a reputed source benchmarking the Ozempic. And that's how a biosimilar dossier should look like. Company B, they also submitted dossier of semaglutide. Now, they don't have phase 3 clinical data at all. Primitive sort of data on animal and very brief phase 1 clinical study. Company C, they have submitted semaglutide dossier as well. Again, benchmarking Ozempic. They literally have submitted nothing. They have some in vitro data, no clinical data at all, no phase 1, no phase 3. Any guess or any guesses what should be the outcome of these 3 different applications for a similar biosimilar drug? Unfortunately, all of them gotten approval in Pakistan. So with this sort of weakness in the system, can we say it for sure that regulatory approval in the emerging market, where the regulatory structure is weak, regulatory enforcement is weak, registration equate to the assurance of the quality? Similarly, in Uzbekistan, an unfortunate incident happened because of the increased concentration of a very toxic chemical. A drug was supplied from India, which was a cough syrup for the use of children, and 60 children died, not from a counterfeit drug, not from a falsified drug, but from a substandard registered drug. And there was a court case, and many regulators were held accountable, and they were imprisoned as well. Similarly, a similar case happened in Gambia. Same result. Registered drug created havoc. A decade back, drug contamination happened. So from registration and developing the product, even if the product is right, does the manufacturing companies have a capability to reproduce quality consistently, and we are sure that there will be no mix-up? So a mix-up happened back in 2013 in Pakistan. Because of that contamination, many deaths happened. Weakness in the regulatory enforcement in terms of GMP, good manufacturing practices. In India, it's a growing concern as well. India has some wonderful companies. They supply to the world. They have US FDA approved company, they have European approved company, but they have a very low tier companies as well. And they also get approval as well in India. So they have a problem of substandard medicine, fake medicine in India as well. As per WHO, World Health Organization, annually around 200,000 people died because of substandard and falsified drug in emerging market. And the economic load the country spend on it, it's around more than 30 billion US dollar. This is as per WHO. This is staggering. And this should be discussed more than the price and the accessibility in terms of the emerging market, the pressing issue. So what should we do as professional associated with this very important profession when we are operating in emerging market? And again, if we readdress this question, after seeing these case studies, so we can now say it for sure, the answer is no. There is an issue, there is an issue. Not all generics and biosimilars are similar in quality, efficacy, and safety, even it's been approved by their regulatory authority, not in Pakistan, but other similar emerging markets as well. So major challenges, again, regulatory weakness, not appropriately enforced guidelines or not adequately developed guidelines, capability issues, intent issues. And again, once there is no enforcement, obviously, then manufacturer has this option to opt for the minimum requirement or go for the maximum requirement. And those companies who does not invest in quality, who does not invest in R&D, who does not invest in the people development, they can produce, again, a questionable quality drug. We cannot say it for sure that we'll have a reproducibility in terms of quality. So what should we do in this scenario? There are certain things which we can do. When we are prescribing, when we are assessing, we know pharmaceutical companies, we cannot ask right questions. In terms of GMP, so there are two important aspects which we should consider. One is the GMP aspect, and the other is the product development aspect. In terms of GMP, where the reproducibility happens, we can assess whether the manufacturing company who is supplying or manufacturing or importing drug are WHO pre-qualified, PICS approved, EAEU approved, or even approved from WHO maturity level 3 or 4 countries. Are they exporting? Are they investing it? Or do they have a European GMP? Do they have a US FDA GMP? So this will give us a certain confidence that the drug which we are prescribing are from a reliable supplier, reliable manufacturer. Second is the R&D. Again, I had a discussion with even few professors in Pakistan and doctors as well, and there is a general misconception that in generic or biosimilar manufacturing companies, there is no need to R&D. There is no need for R&D, which is absolutely wrong. Because developing a product which is same in quality, similar in quality and efficacy, you need to invest in R&D. Why? I'll give you an example. Sofosbuvir, a direct-acting antiviral for hepatitis C. It has 5 polymorphic forms. All 5 polymorphic forms are sofosbuvir, but only one produces the effect which can kill the virus of hepatitis C. 4 of them are not effective. Either they are unstable or they are not soluble enough to have the same bioequivalence. How would we ensure that? Through assessment of polymorphic form through XRD technique. Then, other than the efficacy, there is another aspect which we should look very closely, or the safety aspect, which is impurities. The pharmaceutical products are chemicals, right? Chemical can degrade and they can have impurities, and impurities are carcinogenic in nature. You may have heard about an DMA impurity, and there are multiple other impurities which are carcinogenic. There are sophisticated equipment which is called LC-MS, MS. Through mass spectroscopy, you have to qualify those impurities to check whether the product would be safe other than being effective. Then particle size analysis is very, very important through laser diffraction technique. That's what we do here, there in Getz Pharma. My team, me, we develop these processes to check whether our product will be pharmaceutical equivalent, whether it will be safe or not. And then we put in the stability chamber, we put them on stress, whether it will be having same efficacy when it will be transported to Philippines, to Nigeria, to Iraq, to Uzbekistan, at a different climatic through these stress testing. Again, these are some important tools where we can assess the generic product. So I will now ask the experience of my panelists, because they are coming from different region of the world, but from the emerging market. So my question to Dr. Afra, you are responsible for drug registration in KMCA. So do you see that the variance in the quality of generic manufacture is a problem, and what are you doing for it?
First of all, I would like to thank you for bringing our attention to this important topic. As you know, the topic of biosimilar has been emerged to the markets strongly in the last few years, and I think it will be the leading topic for the upcoming years. When we talk about biosimilars, it's not just about bringing a product with a lower cost in comparing to the originator brands. Biosimilars offering more advantages to the healthcare systems, especially in our region when most of us are from regions with developing countries. Although the cost is very important, but it's also about the quality of the product, the high similarity regarding the quality, the efficacy, and the safety, and also the pharmacokinetic and dynamic properties of the drug in regarding to the generic. When we talk about the different qualities for two generics or two biosimilars, I like to bring your attention to a very critical key point regarding the differentiation inequality of any products, even if it's not biosimilar, which is the manufacturing practices and the degree of the compliance of the highest levels in the production of any product. So for example, if we have two generics that have the same formula, even they may use the same API, the same dosage form, and the same category, they may have a very different quality profile. This is mainly because, for example, when product is being manufactured in a facility, let's say X, which is following the manufacturing practices and the standards being granted from an authority, a health authority level, with a maturity level of, let's say, 1 or less, according to WHO benchmark level. While the other product, which is produced in facility Y, let's say, is being produced with guidelines and manufacturing practices and standards which are highly internationally compliant and may be granted from a healthcare or health authority with a maturity level of 4 or 3 or 4. So, of course, there will be eventually a difference in the quality profile of the product because all the process from the A to Z regarding the production of this product is differ from a facility to another. And I think this is a very regular case for most of the physicians nowadays.
Thank you very much for your insight. And there is a program from WHO where WHO voluntarily, without any cost, they assess the regulatory authority, they assess their maturity level. And the maturity level where we can say the regulation is of an optimum quality is maturity level 3. Unfortunately, Pakistan, Uzbekistan, and a few other countries does not even qualify for maturity level 2 or 1. But there are certain regulatory authorities who are taking initiative and bringing their level up. They are putting an effort to become the PICS members as well. So Dr. Raga, in Iraq, you are again the head of registration. So tell us your experience of assessing biosimilars and generics, and what challenges do you see you face when you are assessing multiple applications from around the world, from very good manufacturer to not very good manufacturer. So what have you done? How you safeguard the interest of the Iraqi people when it comes to healthcare?
Hi everyone. First of all, I am pleasure to be with you and I'm proud to share my experience with the participant country and can take a few seconds to brief overview for registration department. Registration department considered as a safety valve for a product that provide quality and safe, effective, efficient product to achieve for Iraqi patient. First, at the beginning, the product, when enter registration, must be approved from the National Board of Drug Selection, and that there is a product have a compliance for full requirement inside the registration file. This is a tight regulation and strong regulation in order to achieve a good quality product with the safety, quality, efficiency product. At the beginning, there is a committee professional inside the registration that aim to study the full requirement we need it in order to give the goal. The goal of registration is approach safety, efficient, and efficacy for a product. There is many differentiation from our experience. This differentiation can be overcome when we focusing the major point. Major point, the bulk API substance when we talk about previously. The API active substance, when we talk about the certificate of analysis, is it limit within the reference like pharmacopoeia, British pharmacopoeia, European pharmacopoeia, US pharmacopoeia. This is a safe for the good quality product. And also a specification for finished product, maybe check it and compare with the other brand also. That means this is a comparison in order to see similar for a good quality product. Also, the study like LBE, bioequivalence study, this is a good indicator for the drug that is refer a good quality product. Also, the manufacturing site. Manufacturing site, when we study or talk about the GMP, if the GMP is a good manufacturing manufacturing site, when visit the team inspection, that is team inspection is a professional to check the document, to check the manufacturing process inside the manufacturer. This is referred to a product that is a good quality product.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your insight. Yes, again, most of the in emerging market, the other than India probably, most of the emerging market imports the API from other countries. Again, the assessing the quality of API is of a paramount importance. Now, from Iraq to Uzbekistan, Dr. Umida, you are part of Tashkent Pharmaceutical Institute, and where the young generation of regulators, scientists, industrialists will be coming out. So, what initiatives are you taking that those students which are now as part of academia, when will go to the professional life, how they can be a useful member of the pharmaceutical or medical fraternity in Uzbekistan?
First, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. First of all, assalamu alaikum. Hello to all, and thank you so much for invitation. We are very honored to be here between you at this important event, Med1. Okay, so as you were saying, we heard a lot of opinions about biosimilars and registration products in different markets, right? Actually, the requirement is almost the same. So, while preparing our students to the real life, we try them to be ready to work at such places, right? To do tests and do the do the test and making the products which are meeting the requirements, right? So because of that, we're really honored to collaborate with Getz Pharma, because we are planning to send them to Getz Pharma plant for them in order to practice the real life experience, right? So when they will come back, so they will be ready experts in their field and work either at MOH or any pharmaceutical industries. And you brought up that subject where you said 60 children died because of DocMac1, right? It's Indian product, but maybe it's not only the product itself, probably the storage condition. It also makes a big sense, you know? Not necessarily the product, because the product, it's been in the market for a long time. So they say that the storage was one of the most important factors. So anyway, putting all this aside, thank you so much again for invitation, and we try to bring up our students in a very good way and good experts in the field. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Amira. And
Thank
from
you.
Uzbekistan to Kenya, Dr. Stephen. In Kenya, parallel imports, illegal imports is a big problem, and many good manufacturing companies, pharmaceutical companies are struggling to manage this phenomena. And again, Kenya, though we understand, is investing in developing their regulatory authority, but they are still not there. So variable quality substandard drug is a problem in Kenya as well. So when you are sourcing the drug, what sort of measures are you taking to import or to procure or supply the right kind of drug in Kenya?
All right, thank you for having me. And that's a very important question. So Kenya we're a third world country. We're based in sub-Saharan Africa. I think if you look at the East African context, we are basically the largest economy there. Our population is basically poor. That means the government will basically struggle to implement UHC, that is universal health coverage, and non-state actors like the faith-based organizations like MEDS really help, especially in enhancing access to good quality generic products. MEDS actually covers about 60% of the country. So 60% of the population basically gets its products and medicines through the MEDS supply chain. Our regulator is actually ranked at maturity level 2. That means, and you're right when you say that they are not able to basically enhance or enforce all their regulatory functions. And as MEDS, we have tried to support them in many, many ways. First of all is to basically look inward. What are we doing in our quality management system to make sure that whatever products you're sourcing and whatever products you're supplying and distributing meet quality requirements? So we first of all started by adopting very high standards. There's a WHO standard called the MQAS, the Model Quality Assurance Systems for Procurement Agencies. It's a very stringent standard that many supply chain organizations have not been able to adopt, but as MEDS we have. And it allows us to do what you call pre-qualification. So as much as the regulators have conducted their GMP inspections and licensed manufacturers, both in country and externally, we have gone ahead and done our own GMP inspections to pre-qualify the sources of the products. But at the same time, we have also gone ahead to make sure that the products are tested. So if you look at our QMS, we have actually set up what you call a WHO pre-qualified lab. So we are testing every product that we supply and what we distribute. And by extension, we're also helping the regulator monitor the quality of products within the country. So we accumulate a lot of data from our lab, pass it on to our regulator, and the regulator is also able to perform regulatory action or take regulatory action where products of poor quality or substandard or falsified products have actually been found. It's interesting that even our lab has gone beyond just serving the country itself, but we've extended our tentacles to other countries as well. So we are serving about 22 African countries. So through WHO, we are able to get products coming in from other jurisdictions. We test, determine the quality, share the data, and allow regulators also to take regulatory action where possible. Let me talk about parallel importation. It is good because it allows for access, but it can also be misused. It can have what you call a negative economic and social aspect to it. Economic because investors who have put in investments in terms of putting dossiers, taking them through the required processes, are not able to get their returns because these products are coming in without their knowledge, and the economic benefits are gained elsewhere. Negative social aspect because we cannot be able to regulate the quality, and I think that's where organizations like MEDS are stepping in to support the regulator to enforce the rules which are already there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and this is a very, very good example. Even with this challenge, you have developed your own pre-qualification system, even for the product which are registered by the Regulatory Authority of Kenya, and we can take the leaf out of it, that we can have our own assessment criteria when we are selecting the source, when we are writing a prescription, or when we are assessing any manufacturer. So these are the things which we can do. So thank you very much for our panelists, and thank you very much for listening patiently. Here I will conclude my talk. Thank you. So if please, if you want to add something, yeah.
I would like to mention that we in Kurdistan, as Kurdistan Medical Control Agency, which is responsible for the regulations of the health products and pharmaceutical products in Kurdistan. We are totally following the WHO benchmark rating for rating of the maturity level of the authorities that eventually control the quality and the certificates guaranteed to the site producing the different quality products. Thank you.
This is very, very impressive. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for all of you. Thank you. So if there is any question, or we can close the session. Any question from the audience which you want to ask me or our panelist?
Can I ask you? You didn't mention post-marketing surveillance. Does that taken into account, or is not important?
Where?
I know. Sorry.
Yes.
Can I ask you?
Yeah, please.
In your presentation, you didn't mention post-marketing surveillance. Once you've produced the product, what happened to it? And in most regulations, you normally ask for it. So why wasn't it mentioned? Is it not important?
Yes, it is of a very important. So my presentation were more focused on the quality and pre-approval and the approval stage. But you are absolutely right. Having a post-marketing surveillance program is very, very important. Even in GETS Pharma, we have a pharmacovigilance system, and there are developed regulatory authority who are measuring, monitoring drugs' efficacy, even side effects post-marketing. So yes, pharmacovigilance is a very, very important thing which should happen in the emerging market. I cannot hear you.
Yeah, thanks for an extraordinary presentation. That was really awesome. You mentioned in your talk a pitfall in the drug regulatory authority system of Pakistan. Being GETS the market leader of the pharmaceutical company in Pakistan, #1 company in Pakistan, one of the emerging companies in the world, as can be seen here, what steps or what concrete steps you guys are taking to rectify those pitfalls in the health system?
Okay, so as a private organization, what we have done, it's not a compulsion on us to get WHO pre-qualification. It's not a compulsion on us to get PICS certification. It's not a compulsion on us to get EAEU certification. It's not a compulsion on us to get a registration from WHO maturity level 3 or 4 countries. It's not a compulsion on us to get our lab pre-qualified from WHO. We have done all that thing, as what Mr. Khalid was explaining in his speech earlier. We have taken this as a vision, and we have done it on our own, and now we are exporting to 40 countries. With that, we collaborate. We try to sensitize the regulatory authority, the policy makers. We try to educate them as well. We held session. We have close discussion. Even when the ICH CTD was coming in Pakistan, GETS Pharma's regulatory worked very closely in developing the ICH CTD model, which is again under a very primitive phase. So these sort of initiatives we are taking as a private organization in Pakistan. Any other question? So this is the last question, and after that we will conclude our session.
Thank you very much for your presentation. My question is this: from what you've presented, are you suggesting that it is important to have clinical trials in every market before the products are, sent into the market?
No, we are not giving a message that every product should go through a clinical trial. As someone in the audience has mentioned that post-marketing surveillance is very, very important. What we are emphasizing is that in the emerging market where regulatory enforcements are not strong, we should, as a private organization, other companies as well, and the healthcare professional, we should focus on the quality. And quality comes from certain certification, investment in the R&D, and again, investment in their human resource. So that's what we are saying, that I know that many regulatory authorities in emerging markets are striving to become WHO maturity level 3, but until they reach there, what are we supposed to do? There are certain tools through which we can assess the manufacturing company who are supplying drugs in the emerging market. So that's what I'm saying. Getting WHO pre-qualification, getting PIC certification, getting European certification, getting US FDA certification is very, very important in the emerging market where regulatory enforcements are weak. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you. Thank you for our panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, Zishan. Thank you, panelists. Right. Just last one thing before we close, very important thing, just before we have the coffee break and then subsequently move to the different sessions. The pillars of progress, who's who behind the entire show that we have actually created. During my presentation, I also suggested and I also shared that these are the chairs of the scientific committee for the different forums that we have. So in order to honor them, I'll request them to be seated on the stage. Dr. Ghias, please join us here. Dr. Morales, please join us here. Dr. Hamad, you're right here. Dr. Gyan, please join us here. Dr. Busha Jamil. They have been with us since more than 6 months in order to plan and execute the entire sessions that would be subsequently after 11 o'clock. Please have a seat. Thank you very much. Now, the person I'm now going to introduce, he's a very passionate medical doctor. He's a major change agent, as what Khalid Mahmood also mentioned, the new leadership for Getz Pharma, taking us to a newer areas. He's visionary and is very committed to the quality standards, and he's playing a very pivotal role for Getz Pharma, becoming a global player in the industry. He has worked in many different areas, including chief commercial officer, HR director, and for both Pakistan and also for the international business. He's also worked in various positions and across various different geographic locations. With this, I request Dr. Khurram Hussain, Managing Director for Getz Pharma, to please honor us here. Dr. Khurram, please.
Morning or afternoon? Probably it's still morning. So thank you very much for being the pillars of Med1. I don't have any other words other than to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. However, ladies and gentlemen, the idea of Med1 did not just happen overnight. This was something, and I would really appreciate our delegates who are outside right now if they can join us, because I think so there are a lot of people standing outside. It would be good to call them in. So the idea of Med1 did not start overnight. It didn't start just like that. There was, I still remember, same place, I think Antalya, maybe 3 years ago. And I was having a conversation with somebody, a very close friend. And that close friend of mine came to me and he said, you know what, there has to be a bigger thing. There has to be a bigger thing to this. So I'm going to call him on stage, and I'm going to ask him to tell us exactly what he said to us at that time. none other. Can anybody guess who was this person? Because you all know him. I need to see a raise of hands. Okay, other than you. So, Dr. Abbas Azza, please join me. Take the podium, please, because I want you to share your thoughts. But before I ask Dr. Abbas to talk about what we spoke about, I see a very dead audience, by the way. And I know that most of you who are probably from Pakistan have not met your colleagues from Uzbekistan. And the idea of Med1 is not just to come and attend a conference. The idea is to collaborate. So, with your permission, Dr. Abbas, and with the permission of the chairs here, I'm giving you guys 5 minutes. And it's a very small exercise that you have to do. Very small. I think it'll be less than 5 minutes. Stand up. Greet the person sitting next to you or the person behind you if you don't know him or her. Exchange your cards and sit down again. Can you guys do that? Yeah. Can we start on a count of 3? 1, 2, and 3. Please stand up, say welcome, how are you, I like you, I don't like you, nice tie. It's been a while, we've been like sitting since morning. Yeah, I mean, you know, make some stretches there. But you don't have to meet those who you already met. You have to meet those who you've not met. Move around. My colleagues from Kenya, from Ghana, from Iraq, from Azerbaijan, from Georgia, from Sri Lanka, from the Philippines, from Myanmar, from Qatar, from Libya. Move around, move around. You're not supposed to leave the hall. Make sure the doors are locked. Move around. Say hi. Exchange your cards. Great. That side didn't stand up, did they? You guys you didn't stand up. You didn't meet each other. Did you? Already did. Or are you too shy? Okay, your choice. Thank you. Settle down now. Settle down now. Thank you very much. I think there was a little bit of rumbling and tumbling here. Okay, Dr. Abbas.
I wish you have given me some time before this. And this is, guys, this is totally not rehearsed. So this is coming pure from the heart, and it's coming pure from the spirit of this whole meeting. Khurram, yes, you're right. Actually, this is something that we said, and you forgot about one sentence that I also said during that time, and that sentence probably has many meanings, but it honestly means something from the heart. And again, the sentence was that knowing and growing and seeing a local industry becoming an international industry, and again, our partner, I've seen GETS grow from, and Dr. Khalsa was saying from that 1995, I think I started knowing GETS in 2003-04 when I came back from US. I've seen GETS grow, and I've seen GETS grow in not only in volumes, but in also professional growth as well. And Khurram, again, you said everything right, but you forgot. I said, Khurram, GETS has become an international brand. Now you should start acting like one as well. And I think this is just the right expression when I see an audience from 8 different countries setting up a new benchmark. It's not a benchmark for our region, and I'm pretty sure if you look globally today, or in the last few years, if you look globally across, not many industries, and there are many multi-billion industries, not many companies, I can count it on a finger. Being part of international faculty, I travel, I get to invited at different places, but not many industry can pull off a academic program, which is more important in the heart of this, the spirit of this program, to pull off something like this. It's wonderful to interact. It's not only about what we are getting academically, but I think what you did, just meeting, and I see people from, friends from Sri Lanka, I see friends from Philippines, which I usually meet after 1 year, and I'm looking for a meeting like this. And it's a wonderful opportunity. Last but not the least, we had discussions in the morning at work, talking about the generics as well as the branded generics. So interestingly, I did a survey in Pakistan. Again, in a group of people in which there were endocrinologists who were foreign trained and they were local trained, and everyone was around, and asked them a simple question. And this was something I actually told Shah Nawaz as well a couple years ago. When I asked my colleagues a simple question: what is a brand, what is a branded generic, and what is a generic? Not many people knew that. Actually, surprisingly enough, there was only one person in a group of 50 who could answer what is a branded generic. And I think the concept of generics versus branded generics as well as is very relevant for our part of the world, because we don't have the concept of what actually generic but has a brand to it as well. So this is just a learning experience for all of us. I'm looking forward to our component of it, getting all of us together, getting Kamran Babar is here from cardiology, who I hardly see in Pakistan, but I have an opportunity to interact with him. Interacting with the pulmonology, Dr. Ghayas is here. So interacting with the different faculty gives us so this is just the humble start. I think Med1 has a long way to go, and again, I'm looking forward, probably even if I'm not invited as a speaker, but as a participant, to see Med1 with an audience of 4,000 people sitting in a hall in some place in which we can exchange ideas and have a future together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abbas Raza. And trust me, whatever you said, and I know most of you who have this wish. I was talking to Professor A.H. Amar yesterday evening. We had some similar thoughts on a few things. Trust me, this is happening. Med1 is a new it's a new name. Today it is with Getz Pharma. Tomorrow it's going to be an independent unit. And why we are saying this? We are saying this, and hear me out just for, let's say, maybe 3 to 4 minutes, because I was able to write down a few things on why this is happening. And be honest in your critique. Over coffee, over lunch, come over and say whatever you think makes sense or not. So there are 3 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. SDG 3, SDG 4, and SDG 17. They talk about good health and well-being, quality education, and partnerships for the goals. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you all are representing what? You're representing a country which is coming from the group called LMIC. Either we are representing a country which is a lower income group, or we are representing a country which is a middle income group. What is your challenge today? What is your challenge today? Your challenge is as follows, and that's our assessment. There is no impactful collaboration focused on the needs of LMICs. Patient needs, patient well-being, access to quality health care. According to a paper from the Lancet, in the Lancet, 2018, 8.6 million deaths could have been averted if access to quality health care was available. And I'm talking about universal health coverage. The universal health coverage model was launched in the LMICs to make sure that there is equitable access of quality health care. It did not materialize. It has not materialized. we all represent those countries where it has not materialized. So what are we doing? Med1 is not just a cluster of conferences. Med1 is not just a once-in-a-year event. Med1 is an ecosystem. This today is the launch of that ecosystem, which will be focusing on the following three things. We are going to focus on more and more of collaboration. We are going to elevate, and here is where you become our partners, not anyone else. We are a pharmaceutical company. We may be the bad guys at some times because we ask you to prescribe products, and sometimes some people do a lot more than that, and we all know that. We are not talking about that. What we are saying is we're going to together, if you are in this with us, we're going to elevate patient rights. We are going to elevate patient safety, and we are going to elevate patient empowerment. What does it mean? Enabling patients to take an active role in their own healthcare. How many of us do that? You're all the big guys and big gals of your area. Your endos, your diabs, your gastro, your hepatologists, your psychiatrists, your cardiologists, your urologists. People follow you. They follow you. Your junior colleagues follow you. We request you to help us talk about access to information about patient care. We request you to help us talk about self-management of chronic disease. Not self-medication, self-management. We're requesting you to help us propagate active participation. It is a patient right to have an active participation in how they get treated. It is a patient right to have shared decision making in what they are suffering from and what they are getting treated with. We treat our patients with respect, dignity, and fairness. I'm sure we all do that. I'm a doctor as well. I'm a physician as well. I'm not just a marketing guy. I treat patients as well. Right to informed consent, right to information, right to respect and non-discrimination, right to access of quality health care, right to complain and seek readiness. This is what Med1 stands for. This is what Med1 will stand for. I am also very pleased to announce, effective 2025, last quarter, we will be launching the first of its kind, privately managed universal healthcare system in Pakistan. Through that system, we are going to operate primary care level clinics, 5,000 of them. Those clinics will be equipped with digital connectivity. Those clinics will deal with primary care the way the NHS was designed with. We are a private company. We are not, and we can never replace the role of the state. But my colleagues, you can help us. This is Pakistan, but next year we will enter in Sri Lanka, in Nigeria, in Kenya, in Uzbekistan. That is the vision. Khalid Mahmood has given Gets Pharma a platform where it can start giving back. We have to start giving back to our patients. It's their right. And I'm not saying giving them free medications. I'm not saying giving them free lab tests. I'm not saying giving them free surgeries, but I'm saying at least give them their rights, their right to choose what they want, their right to access of information, their right to education about their disease. We all represent those countries where there is an unmet need. We don't need drugs and tablets and injections. We already have them. We need guidelines to be implemented at the policy level. And you have to partner with us. Will you partner with us? Not like this. Those of you who are really saying it, I know you're saying it by your heart. Those who are not, you're still thinking. That's okay. But thank you for being a patient audience so far. Thank you for listening to whatever I had to say. I am available along with my team, along with my faculty, the ones who made this possible, the scientific chairs, Abbas Raza, the man behind the gun, I would call him that, Professor Zaid Yasin Hashmi, Professor A.H. Amir, and all respected seniors, Dr. Dante Morales, Professor Hamad Athar, Professor Yasun Nabi Tayyab, Professor Bushra Jamil, and how do I spell you? How should I pronounce you? I'm so sorry. Professor Gyan. We are all in this together. Hopefully, I'm committing on your behalf. We are all in this together. Whatever I said, it will happen. God willing, our intent is there. Thank you for being very patient audience so far. Don't give a round of applause to me. Give a round of applause to yourselves for being able to listen to this. And a loud one. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Hello. Yeah. Dr. Just one last thing that we have to accomplish, Dr. Arshia. Will you please come here on the stage? We want to have a photograph and also a souvenir pin for, you can place them on their jackets, if you please. Come. They do. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Oh, yeah, sure, please. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Khurram. So next is a coffee break for 20 minutes. We'll enjoy coffee. After the coffee break, we have these plenary sessions, IUM in C2, C1 for IPF, IFID, IGHF in A2, the ICMF plenary session will be here. And in Hall 6, we have Public Health Forum. Please enjoy your coffee. Thank you very much.
ठीक है हो गया go? Death row base, how low can you 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 go? How low can you go? Death row, how low can you go? Death row base, 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 base. How low can you go? Death row base, 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 how low can you go? Can you feel it? I feel the vibe. Can you feel it? I feel the bass. I feel the music in up the place. I feel the sound. I feel the bass. Can you feel it? I feel the vibe. Can you feel it? I feel the bass. I feel the music in up the place. I feel the sound. I feel the bass.
Hello. 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 Music down. Music. All participants, we are beginning in the next 5 minutes. Please gather in hall B1, B2, and B3. All participants for ICMF, the International Cardiometabolic Forum, please gather back into the room. All participants kindly gather back into the main plenary hall. We are beginning shortly in 5 minutes. All participants for ICMF are requested to come back to the main plenary hall. We are shortly beginning in 5 minutes. अगर जोर से बोलूँगा ना, that is going to be बुरा लगेगा. बंदा ही नहीं है. I'm not sure यहाँ बंदा कौन है. जाएगी नहीं
चलेगा अच्छा ये प्रेजेंटेशन चलेगी
मतलब
टीम गाइड कर देगी टिंटे मोरालेस तो बड़ा शोली बंदा है डांस कर रहा था कह रहा था ये म्यूजिक डांस करने वाला तो मैंने कहा तो आपका दिल कर रहा है डांस करने का यस इट्स म्यूजिक दैट मेक्स यू डांस बोल रहे थे कि पीछे से कुर्सियां हटा दें रात में कुर्सियां हटाने वाले
टाइम
सीन ही नहीं है और इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस में भी यही होता है प्लेनरी खाली होता है उसके बाद फुल वीटो पावर ने कहा नहीं भाई नहीं करना है
All participants for the ICMF are requested to come back to the plenary hall. We are beginning shortly.
A6 है आपका A6 would be where यहाँ से जाके घूम के मैडम को बंदों को जमा करें तो स्टार्ट करें वरना ये खींचता चला जाएगा
The coffee break is ending. All participants are requested to please move into the plenary hall.
जो सामान वाले खड़े हैं लेकिन बातें कर रहे हैं जमा करना है सर लोग जमा नहीं हो रहे नहीं लेकिन ये वापस तो हो जाए ना सारे
All participants for the ICMF are kindly requested to come back to the plenary hall. We are beginning shortly.
वॉइस नोट करते हैं आवाज़ बहुत कट रही है सिग्नल नहीं आ रही
This is faulty.
you what you're doing. You're taking the disco, you're mixing it with some Crisco, and bringing it back. You're bringing it back.
Low, low. Hello. Yes. Volume low, low. Hello. 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 Welcome back, everyone, to Med1 ICMF, the International Cardiometabolic Forum 2025. My name is Dr. Shahriyar Hassan. I am a medical advisor at Getz Pharma, and I welcome you all to this breakout of ICMF 2025. My job here is to let you through the events agenda for today and to let you know the legacy of ICMF. The ICMF legacy runs for more than a decade. We have been doing these events with HCPs like yours, and we go to different destinations each year and have great scientific dialogue which focuses on patient care, cardiometabolic diseases, the consortium of these uniting diseases, and access to greater treatments and access to different treatments. This year, we have gathered here in Antalya for the ICMF 2025. On the screen right now is a highlight of last year's meeting, which we conducted in China, in Beijing. Over 220 HCPs were involved, with 20 plus experts and faculties joining us from 11 countries. having a rich agenda with 4 plenary sessions, 3 breakout sessions, and the agenda focusing on cardiology, endocrinology, and metabolic diseases. This year, I am proud to announce that we are joined by 350 plus participants from 15 countries in the Med1 ICMF. So what is basically ICMF? Why do we do ICMF each year? Does the conversation remain the same? So as you know, that cardiometabolic diseases are evolving. There are new diagnostics coming up each year. There are new treatments coming up each year. The researchers of the past get falsified by new researchers. And this is the purpose, to gather experts like yours and to create great scientific dialogue so that, and develop great networking opportunities so that we can collaborate with HCPs like yours and have a great scientific dialogue. To develop the great agenda for the ICMF, I would like to honor our scientific committee chair, Dr. Dante Morales. He's a clinical associate professor and a consultant cardiologist in Philippines. You have already met him in the pain plenary session, and I'm going to shortly invite him for his welcome talk in a few minutes. Joining him as the scientific committee members are Dr. Abbas Raza, which you have met already. He's the course director for ICMF this year. Joining him is Dr. Asad Akbar Khan and Dr. Hafizullah, who are both the scientific committee members from Pakistan. Moving to global markets, we have been blessed to be joined by scientific committee members Dr. Nancy Kunyeha from Kenya, Dr. Don Ree from Philippines, and Dr. Barno Shagazatova from Uzbekistan. So whatever you see on the agenda is a result of their guidance and their help, because of which we have been able to develop a robust agenda to deliver to you and to create value for the HCPs. So the day looks like that in the next 10 minutes, Dr. Dante Morales, the scientific committee chair, is going to come for his welcome address, followed by the course director prelude by Dr. Abbas Raza. It will be followed by 3 interesting plenary sessions, followed by a Q&A, and then we are going to break out for a group photograph and lunch at 1 p.m. When we come back in an hour at 2 p.m., we are going to again have 3 plenary sessions, followed by a combined Q&A. And then we break out for 15 minutes for a coffee break. The last part of the day is interesting, where we don't let you just sit and make you listen to talks. We are going to engage you in little activities, so you can use technology and use your mobiles to use online polling softwares and let us know our different opinions about obesity and AI in healthcare myths. This will be followed by the closing of the session with a word of thanks. Thank you. To take the agenda forward, I would like to invite Dr. Dante Morales for his scientific committee chair's reflections. Dr. Dante is a consultant internist and cardiologist and eminent professor and eminent researcher. Sir, the stage is yours and you may start. Yes.
Thank you very much. First, on behalf of the scientific committee, I'd like to welcome all the delegates. I was told over 350 delegates for this specific forum. I also like to thank and show my appreciation to Getz Pharma for having invited me here to be the scientific chair for this very important forum. And the topic assigned to me Well, topic assigned to me is to give my perspectives as scientific chairman on this forum, which is International Cardiometabolic Forum. Very hot issues. Now, cardiometabolic has two words, metabolic and cardiac. We have known metabolic syndrome for many, many years. Starting in 2009, it was really in vogue. And you can see here the components of metabolic syndrome. Abdominal obesity, triglycerides, HDL-C, blood pressure, and fasting glucose. Now, this was modified later on in 2022, but very important to note, the two most important components are abdominal obesity, or obesity by definition of BMI, and all the others are also there. Now, this is metabolic syndrome. How about the cardio part of the cardiometabolic? The cardio part is because what has been shown is that these risk factors that were components of the metabolic syndrome are really very important modifiable risk factors in two case control studies done all over the world. As long as you're an inhabitant of Earth, you will be represented. So we see here hypertension, dyslipidemia, obesity, diabetes mellitus, both for stroke and for heart attack. They're really top modifiable risk factors. Now, there has been a lot of talk about the association of cardiac and renal. And what has been shown is that cardiovascular events increase the risk of incident chronic renal disease or kidney disease. And on the other hand, also, chronic kidney disease increases the risk of CV events. And this is really a vicious cycle, one affecting the other. This is the reason why they came up with cardiorenal stages, 1 to 5. 1 and 2, the first one, stage 1, is acute heart failure leading to acute kidney injury. And the second one, type 2, is chronic heart disease or heart failure leading to chronic kidney disease. And 3 is acute kidney injury leading to acute heart failure, and the chronic kidney disease leading to chronic heart failure and chronic heart disease. And of course, the fifth one is a combination, a mixture of the two found in septicemic shock, amyloidosis, even cirrhosis, in which there is a combination that affects, all both cardiorenal as well, cardiac as well as renal. Now, if you would note, this has been hot topics for many years now. And if you would look at cumulative publications and annual publications, you can see that there have been several. And if you look at the trend from 2010 to 2023, there's still a steep climb in researches on this main topic, cardiac metabolic, but actually cardio-renal metabolic. Now, there may have been many reasons for this, but my reflection, my thinking is that this was mainly based on the fact that the US Food and Drug Administration gave a mandate that henceforth, from 2008, all researches on anti-hyperglycemic therapy should not center only on sugar control, which is fasting blood sugar, to our postprandial or HbA1c, but they should also address the effect on cardiovascular outcomes, as well as whether they have risks or side effects when it comes to cardiovascular events. So this is the reason why a lowly drug, which is fluorescein, a drug which was used to make dogs reduce weight, this, developed into the SGLT2. But, it also tells us the association between diabetes, kidney disease, and heart failure, knowing that 58% of people with diabetes mellitus will develop CKD, and that 50% of diabetic individuals will develop heart failure. Very high percentages that I've mentioned. So the cardiometabolic renal interconnections have been there, and we can see here that SGLT2 inhibitors, as well as the GLP-1 receptor agonists, and we can also see the GIP, all came after that. Years after that, they were really developed in many researches. Now, on the SGLT2, there have been 3, and the first one was empagliflozin in the EMPA-REG. Second was Canvas or canagliflozin in Canvas, and the third one was Declare, which was on dapagliflozin, and the population is shown here. You can see that in the EMPA-REG, empagliflozin, 99% were people already with ASCVD, arteriosclerotic heart disease. Only 1% with multiple risk factors. On the other hand, at the end of it, Declare on dapagliflozin had 60%. Only multiple risk factors. No structural heart disease yet, no symptoms. Okay? These were the population. But what was shown was that all 3 resulted in cardiovascular outcomes, meaning diminution or reduction of hospitalization for heart failure, CV death, and major adverse cardiovascular events. And these were all significant in values when it comes to EMPA-REG, the empagliflozin, but quite trending and not significant statistically in the Vertis ertogliflozin, in Canvas, as well as Declare. But we can understand why. Because the ones in the EMPA-REG already had arteriosclerotic heart disease, whereas the others only had multiple risk factors, namely hypertension, dyslipidemia, obesity, and you may even include hypertension. So they're more sick. So we really expect them to be benefiting more if they have arteriosclerotic heart disease. Anyway, this went on, and again, one of the SGLT2 inhibitors, one of the top ones, which is empagliflozin and dapagliflozin. I'm going to just use an example of dapagliflozin. They proceeded not only in the Declare, which involved people with diabetes mellitus, plus risk factors or plus ASCVD. Then they went into effect of dapagliflozin in heart failure, and they found out that this was the first SGLT2 inhibitor with heart failure outcome trials, and the DAPA-CKD, again, on both DAPA-HF and DAPA-CKD, these were done on patients, and they were found out that there was a reduction of cardiovascular outcomes and renal outcomes, whether they're diabetic individuals or non-diabetic individuals. So, they had another study, which was the DELIVER for dapagliflozin. And this was also found in the empagliflozin, the preserved research. And putting together all of this meant to say that people with ejection fraction of 35 to 70, that this agent, this molecule, was effective in reducing cardiovascular outcomes. Okay, now you can see DAPA-HF is less than 40, equal to or less than 40 ejection fraction, and the DELIVER was equal to or over 40% ejection fraction. And the combination of this, the pooled data showed a 14% reduction in CV death, all-cause deaths of 10%, total hospitalization for heart failure of 29%, and 26% reduction of first hospitalization for heart failure, and the major adverse cardiovascular events was reduced by about 10%. Now, the other group of molecules was the glucose-independent insulinotropic polypeptide and the GLP-1 or glucagon-like peptide 1 receptor agonist. And this really came up with good effects. And the potential benefits of combining the two, GIP and GLP-1, are shown here. And this is the reason why the American Diabetic Association came up with this algorithm. The algorithm in which what's really important for these drugs are 3, namely cardiorenal risk reduction, glycemic lowering efficacy, as well as weight management. So what was a new category were patients with multiple risk factors. They don't have any disease yet. This is pre-illness. Okay, what they had were risk factors. And the risk factors for heart failure are similar to the risk factors for kidney disease. Okay, so we have here risk factors only, effective in people with diabetes. ASCVD only without heart failure, no kidney disease, effective also for ASCVD. But for heart failure, whether you're diabetic or non-diabetic, dapagliflozin and these SGLT2 inhibitors were very effective against heart failure and all the cardiovascular events that go along with heart failure, including death. And for CKD, the same. diabetic or non-diabetic, very effective in reducing cardiovascular outcomes as well as renal outcomes. Now, so the only thing is the GIP and the GLP-1 were really more effective in maintaining glycemic control as well as weight management. And top of the line here really were the GLP-1 RA, exemplified by semaglutide, injection now, but soon will be coming with a tablet. At the same time, the GIP and the combination of the two. And then also for weight reduction is also the same. So we have now the plenary, there are 6 of them addressing the effect of these drugs, talking about heart failure, talking about MASH, metabolic dysfunction associated steatotic hepatitis, CKD, studies on what transformed our clinical practice when we see patients in the bedside, as well as obesity and dyslipidemia. So I think what we're going to have in the future will be not only cardiometabolic, but cardio-renal metabolic, and under metabolic we have several. Diabetes, obesity, dyslipidemia, liver disease, we can include hypertension, and who knows, I think there will be studies about effect on the brain, on the joints, I don't know, but that will be forthcoming. On this, I'd like to thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Morales, for setting up the stage for the ICMF 2025. Honestly, it's again, I wasn't expecting my introductory part in the first phase. So again, most of the things that I was going to say has already been said. But I think all of us being together here on the at this stage, is not only important for us to get the knowledge, but I think the most important component for all of us is to make friends, to interact, and build bridges over a period of time. I think if we get, so I had an opportunity to meet friends from Philippines, from Sri Lanka, from Kenya, that I met few years ago, and now we are connecting again. And that goes a long way as far as what we are going to do today and what we are going to do for the benefits of the patient later. Let alone different countries. I think the more important part is that we get to interact even with each other from the same country. So again, I see people from endocrine society, I see people from cardiology society who are here not only to interact today, but also to have some kind of a connection that will follow this meeting. So that's the beauty of ICMF. And I think Med1 has taken us all into the next zone, in the next step, in the next mission, in which we are not only getting together here to have a dissemination of information, but also share the common interest among us as well. So please, as Khurram said earlier, Dr. Khurram said earlier, please interact. Please meet people. And I think the vision of Med1, which is uniting everyone under one umbrella, will come true today, and probably will make new friends and will take it to new ventures. So that's just a general introduction. Again, it already been what is in line for us in time to come. Again, I had the opportunity to serve in international organizations as well as international forums, and I feel privileged to be part of ICMS under the roof, under the umbrella of Medical One. I will not take much time between me and the scientific session because most of us has discussed that. I think I would like to introduce our first plenary, which is experience never gets old, critical insight into the 4 pillars of heart failure. And I'm privileged to welcome one of the very dynamic speaker who I've been hearing, and while he's getting to the podium, he's been working in, hello. So again, I hear that you've been interested in doing a lot of work in emerging market and a lot of work in biosimilar as well as generic market. And I would love to interact with you because sometimes we forget there is a forum for high-end, high socioeconomic countries. We have Endocrine Society, we have ESD. Sometimes we forget, and then there's WHO, who also serves the underserved and the very. But sometimes we forget the middle tier. And I think organizations and platforms like MedOne, and this is one of the, can go a long way in which if I could learn from your experience and you can learn from my experience, how we can say. So if you have like one few things to say before we go for the formula.
Absolutely, it is very important for me to underline that my mission in life and in cardiology is to make the European differences, the European disparities disappear as much as we can. And that's why I'm very happy to let you know that I am the chair of the Eastern Europe Committee for the European Society of Cardiology, and we are exactly doing what it was described today by Dr. Hussein, what Gates would like to do, to make the things equal, to make the differences less expressed, and to make the people get together, first on the level of the education and science, knowledge, profession, and then on the level of the general political situation. And we are trying to do that in the different ways, and so far I'm doing that for the last 2 decades, and it seems that we are getting better. There are some people in the audience who were exposed to our activity, and nothing is easy, nothing goes very smooth, but I think that having in mind what we need to do is the best way how to achieve our goals.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to interacting with you during the other day, and I will not want to hold you from you and your talk. This is a slight change that I have to give it to you. Over to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Highly appreciated. I have 25 minutes, but I hope that I can make this is more concise, shorter, and giving you the insight of the guy who is dealing all his life with the first part of the cardio-renal metabolic. I used to be the president of the Heart Failure Association of the ESC, so I'm a heart failure guy. And as it was pointed out by Professor Morales, heart failure is one of the major threats, but nothing has been changed in the last century. Sir Thomas Lewis, 1913, everybody needs to know all about the heart failure, because this is something which we are threatening every day, and our patients are in jeopardy. The most important part in heart failure is that very variable, and we say that the journey through the progression of the heart failure is very windy and very arduous. What we would like to have is stable disease with no acute decompensation, with no ER admission, and with no heart failure hospitalization. That is something which we are trying to do, and that's why my lecture is having the title Experience Never Gets Old, because this is something which we would like to have from many years ago. We did a tremendous positive work in the field of heart failure. First, blocking neurohumoral activation with beta blockers, with ACE inhibitors, with MRI antagonists was something which was a breakthrough. And then came a very long period, almost a decade, in whom heart failure did not offer anything new. As you can see here now, we have the newcomers, SGLT2 inhibitors and GLP-1 receptor antagonists to some extent, giving us the possibility to treat this patient with these 4 drugs, ACE inhibitors, beta blockers, MRI, SGLT2 inhibitors, and also loop diuretics, very important drugs. As you can see, for the first time in more than a decade, we have complete agreement between American and European guidelines in the terms how we are going to use this drug. However, heart failure is a complex disease. This is the intersection of the patient profiling, different pathological basis, meaning different etiologies, then different comorbidities, and also metabolic and renal syndrome. And therefore, treating all that in one sense is very challenging. One of the most important strategy which came later to the light, and it is accepted all over the world on all continents, is so-called patient profiling. What it means? We're tailoring medical therapy to specific clinical profile, considering blood pressure, heart rate, atrial fibrillation, CKD, electrolyte abnormalities, and the residual congestion. And on the basis of that, we have 9 profiles which we can clearly define and see how this person should be treated, giving them the drugs at the same way, similar drugs, similar treatment, and producing less side effects. Treatment layering on heart failure drugs is extremely important. That is driven by the different events in heart failure, then different therapeutic initiation, having in mind the outcomes of heart failure, but also patient characteristics. Therefore, today we advocate the initiation and up-titration of the must-have drugs in the treatment layering and the possibility to give the drug which will act the best and produce less side effects. However, we are now also facing the recognition of the cardiovascular etiologies in both systemic and cardiovascular field. Cardiovascular etiologies, and we can treat heart failure using this entity, is coronary artery disease, valvular heart disease, and you know that TAVI is now one of the, let's say, important part of the treatment of the heart failure, the standard of treatment of aortic stenosis, then functional mitral regurgitation with MitraClip, tricuspid regurgitation with TriClip, and also hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy with mavacaptan and septal reduction. So we have the way, first of all, to recognize different comorbidities, to treat them specifically, and also to see what of these comorbidities will be the major driver of the progression of the heart failure. One of the important things which was already mentioned is the type 2 diabetes and the heart failure agglomeration. So we need to understand that almost 40% of our patients has known or unknown diabetes. We are treating them, of course, with SGLT2 inhibitors, underlining and stressing that SGLT2 inhibitors are not the drugs which are decreasing HbA1c. Of course, they are decreasing HbA1c, but also the drugs which are providing for us the best long-term outcome, reducing cardiovascular death, heart failure, hospitalization. It is also important that another side of the coin is chronic kidney disease, and we should look at the drugs which reduce cardiorenal risk, starting from ACE inhibitors, ARBs, then SGLT2 inhibitors, and also finerenone. So we have very powerful tools, but we need first to find a way how we are going to define which patient is going to get which drug. Iron deficiency and anemia is recently very much in focus, and it can give us another important input of the treatment and improving these comorbidities in patients with heart failure. By giving them ferric carboxymaltose, we reduce the possibility of heart failure hospitalization. So we teach our postdocs, we teach the students all over the world that everybody needs to have anemia and iron deficiency diagnosed at the time. Sometimes we forget the natural history of the disease. The development of frailty, sarcopenia, and cachexia are extremely important because they are ruining the patient quality of life, and also reducing the likelihood that the patient will feel good. So we need to diagnose that, and we need to work on this as much as we can. The problem here is that usually this is associated with the advanced timelines of life, and therefore the patient needs to be trained and also to be treated at the best possible way. So if we look at the patient profiling, we may say that GDMT, optimal medical therapy, is something which we do every day, which we recognize as a major driver of our progress in treating those patients, depending on the heart rate, as I said, also blood pressure and CKD, we use different drugs. In addition to that, in 2021, we defined completely new concept, and this is the simultaneous heart failure uptitration, which has a positive effect on the long-term outcome. This was given as knowledge to all heart failure specialists, and multinational observational study from UK, US, and Sweden show that this approach has a high efficacy and should be used in all possible possibilities. If we look at the 4-pillar treatment, we know that it's effective. It should be given to the most patient, but it also should underline the importance of clinical integrity in overcome hypotension, electrolyte disbalance, and worsening renal function. And hypotension is one of the most important side effects of the optimal medical therapy. However, the appearance of optimal medical treatment with hypertension does not affect the efficacy of optimal medical therapy. And among the patients with lower blood pressure, optimal medical therapy rate was 67%, and GDMT use was associated with decreased adverse effect. So hypertension may occur, but if it's asymptomatic, the drugs should be continued. The diagram, how we deal is, if we have the patient with advanced heart failure, we need to be very careful. We need to consider different treatment options. In another patient, if the patient is asymptomatic, we just continue with optimal medical therapy, reducing the dosage of diuretic and giving the higher dosage of SGLT2 inhibitors. Hyperkalemia and hyponatremia are among the most important electrolyte disorder, and that should be seen at time, and we should address that on time. The interplay of MRA and empagliflozin is extremely important, and this is one of the big benefits of SGLT2 inhibitors, because the empagliflozin use can facilitate the use of MRI, and this treatment was associated with less discontinuation of MRI. All this is now the common knowledge. These are no state-of-the-art clinical pearls, and we need to let our young physicians know how they should proceed. Also, the ARNI can reduce the risk of hyperkalemia. Severe hyperkalemia was less likely to occur when ARNI in comparison with enalapril. And also, this is clearly reduced the risk of hyperkalemia. We have now the possibilities to treat hyperkalemia, and Patiomer is one of them. We were the part of a Diamond trial in whom it was clearly shown that win-win ratio for RAS use and hyperkalemia related comorbidity is favored by the Patiomer use. So we are inventing more and more way how we are going to approach our patient and treat them with higher efficacy. Renal function may worsen in the patient with heart failure. If this is associated with diabetes, then we may have even more problem. However, some drugs like ARNI, like SGLT2 inhibitors, are having the initial decrease in renal function, which is practically followed by an excellent long-term effect. So this is extremely important for us to understand. In addition to that, renal function may be extremely important because if you look at SGLT2 inhibitors and positive clinical effect, we may think that one of the reasons for the positive clinical effect may be that those drugs have a positive effect on the renal function associated with positive effect on the heart. Finerenone is something which is here to stay, especially in patients with diabetes. In Figaro DKD, it was clearly shown that finerenone significantly lower risk of hospitalization for heart failure. Therefore, think about finerenone, which is the viable option in most of our patients. One of the important trials recently shown is STRONG-HF. In this trial, to make the long story short, the rapid post-discharge up-titration of the target dose of the drug, half to full optimal dose, was associated with less heart failure hospitalization and also with less 180-day readmission for heart failure to or all-cause death. Therefore, this is something which we need to understand and which we need to address in most of our treatment of our patient. In addition to that, as you can see in the guidelines, it is recommended that intensive strategy of initiation and rapid up-titration should be used every day. As one of the co-editors of the European Heart Journal, I would like to address that this concept is proven all over the world, and I'm showing one of European Heart Journal articles when accelerated and personalized therapy with reduced ejection fraction was associated with very positive cardiovascular long-term outcome. Extremely important drugs are SGLT2 inhibitors, and as you can see, the empagliflozin in EMPULSE trial was associated with excellent long-term effect, with less use of diuretics, and with the clinical positive cardiovascular benefit in 80 days. And this article is extremely important because it's showing us that SGLT2 inhibitors, in this case empagliflozin, should be used in all patients with heart failure without diabetes, from ejection fraction less than 25% to ejection fraction less than 65%. And this is the great debate which sealed this approach when SGLT inhibitors should be the first-line treatment in heart failure with reduced ejection fraction. This is directly the topic of this conference. The report HDF study is showing that 37% of the patients in low and mid-income countries were less likely to receive optimal medical therapy. That is what we need to work with in both Europe and Asia, as well as all over the world. Real-world utilization is a global program. This is one of our work lately, and there are three factors: patient-related, healthcare-related, and treatment-related factors. This is a story per se, but what is important for us is that we recognize which of these three factors is essential and predominant in some parts of the world. We may use the education and new technologies in order to improve GDM3 implementation, and we try to practically work on this every day. I'm going to finish with the precision medicine, and since we are squeezing with time, I give you just the insight that individual heart failure etiology may go to the standard care framework, which was somehow related to the first lecture of this symposium, and then also there is the precision medicine in cardiovascular disease. The future of the precision medicine in heart failure should give us the new insight into pathophysiology of heart failure, novel therapeutic strategies in this disease, as well as new molecular subtypes of heart failure. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude by saying that what we try to do and what this symposium is dedicated to is the same what Marie Charcot did in 1897, and this is the treating our patient at a better and more efficient way. By saying goodbye to you, I would like to invite you all in Belgrade, because we have the Heart Failure Association meeting with more than 70,000 participants. Belgrade is for the second time the host of this big Congress, and we hope that this Congress will review everything we know in heart failure, trying to make our fight with this terrible enemy much more successful. I would like to thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. And again, I think we'll have the question and answer at the end as well.
Okay.
So again, it's not only a privilege, but it's a pride in introducing someone whose name comes up after every time you think of endocrinology in Pakistan. So his name in Pakistan is, you think of action movies, you think of Tom Cruise. You think of basketball, you think of Michael Jordan. And you think of endocrinology, you think of Amir. Amir, could you please join me on the stage? And again, Amir, knowing what we know about diabetes and the metabolic disorders and MASH and liver disease, before we go to your main talk, I just wanted to get a feel of what do you think of journal liver kidney diabetes access as a prelude to your talk. Is it something that we need to worry about in the beginning, or is it something
maybe 10 years ago are slightly different, because the amalgamation of problems, and I